don't shame and put yourself down in order to build yourself up. The only thing that will get you to show up as the person that you want to be is to just start showing up as her.
Hey guys, it's Cori from Redefining Strength. Welcome to the Fitness Hacks Podcast. So in today's episode, I want to cover sacrifice and why it's needed to reach any goal. I have a great interview with Kelsey of Constantly Varied Gear to talk about living boldly and loving the journey. I also want to share one of my favorite macro hacks if you are making meals to be able to quickly tweak as you need to hit your macros. I then want to touch on spot reduction and stubborn belly fat, how you can actually see better results, but also why you can't spot reduce in the way we think we can. And then finally, I want to share one of my favorite foam rolling tools and how you can actually make this tool at home to move and feel your best. So let's jump right in. There will always be sacrifices we make in pursuit of any dream or goal. I actually commented this back on a post to somebody and they didn't like that I used the word sacrifices because they felt it was very negative. But I'm all about embracing pain and embracing the negative as part of our superpower to help us move forward. Because I think so often when we deny the obstacles, when we deny the sacrifices, when we deny the pain we're even in, we don't allow ourselves to really move forward as efficiently. And we also hold ourselves back because when we do encounter a challenge, which they are going to pop up along the way, we're not fully prepared to handle them. And then we feel like we don't have the willpower, the self-control, or there's something wrong with us that we always encounter these obstacles and then feel like we can't push through. So I think it's really key that we don't shy away from facing the obstacles that are going to come our way. And I think one of those obstacles is sacrifice. Because what we've always done feels natural, it feels instinctual, it feels easy, and it's what we want to keep doing. Sometimes the habits are so ingrained, we're not even conscious we're doing them. It's become this reward that we just know we can go to, right? Like you're stressed out, you come home from work, you go and grab something out of the cabinet to make yourself feel better. You might even not fully realize you're doing it when you do it, but your brain associates getting that food with being the reward or the way to sort of pacify the stress that you have right then, right? So it's something that we do. So in breaking any pattern that we have, there's going to be some sacrifice because it's going to feel really, really hard. So if you really enjoy going out on a Friday night with the girls and you like to have a few cocktails, but now you're like, hey, I really want to dial in my macros. I really want to learn this new lifestyle. I really want to move forward towards my weight loss goals. Maybe you do have to make a sacrifice just to break the pattern, because maybe it's not just about that one night and those few cocktails. It's the fact that the next morning you wake up, you don't feel as good, you then don't go to the gym, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're starting over Monday. So it's more than just that one night that you're really trying to break the pattern of. So you're going to have to make, yes, that sacrifice. It won't feel good not indulging in those cocktails or maybe even saying to the girls, hey, can we go do something else instead? But sometimes you need to do that as a short-term fix to break that pattern and embrace the new lifestyle. Maybe it is something that's really important to you and you even go back to it later, but in order to make the change, sometimes you have to steer and overcorrect just a little bit to come back. So realize that there are going to be sacrifices you have to make because it's going against what you've always done. It's not going to feel easy, but to break that pattern, we have to embrace it and really recognize it. It will feel hard, and it's okay to admit that things are going to feel hard, that you're not even going to enjoy them at points. But this doesn't make the ultimate lifestyle that you're trying to create unsustainable. So as you're trying to achieve a new and better result, realize there are going to be sacrifices. List out maybe the things right now that are really important to you that you feel like are the priorities and are non-negotiable, and try to avoid those as much as possible as you're making changes, but also recognize if part of them are also repeating the pattern that you want to break. Are they what are causing you to fall off every single weekend? Are they contributing to you eating out of stress and not seeing the consistent results that you want? What are some sacrifices you might have to make to finally break that pattern and create a new and sustainable lifestyle so you're looking back being like, why didn't I do this sooner? But embrace that there will be sacrifices and don't deny that there are going to be challenges along the way. I'm so excited to chat with Kelsey of Constantly Varied Gear. Not only am I a huge fan of their leggings, but she shares some great tips to live boldly, embrace yourself, and love your journey. So let's jump into the interview. Welcome, welcome. We have Kelsey of CVG here, Constantly Varied Gear, for you guys who have not checked out their stuff yet. And we're gonna talk about living boldly. Kelsey, thank you so much for being on with me today.
Of course, I'm super excited to come on.
So being a strong woman, feeling empowered at the gym, I have to admit, I was drawn to your guys' stuff, like not only because you promote this in your community, but also because of your really fun leggings. And I think, and I've heard even from clients sometimes, this fear of wearing stuff that shows off in the gym. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this and, where this idea of really living boldly came from for you guys.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because what we wear is so much of an expression of what we want to put out into the world, right? So like what we choose to wear in the gym and what we choose to like put off in life is really a reflection of that. So as we were building up like what we really wanted from our community, women entering the gym was ultimately to take up space, to know that they can take up space and they should. Like you are there to take up space, and so many women they go into the gym and they look to go maybe unnoticed and fly under the radar and just kind of like only use equipment no one's using, like only if it's convenient for everyone else. And like your existence is not to be convenient for everyone around you. That's not the idea here. And when it comes to the gym, which like it's very interesting because there's a lot of thought around the gym and like why people go to the gym and what working on your health means, or if it's just for aesthetics or whatever. And really ultimately what it comes down to is working on yourself. And what are you there to do? What are you there to accomplish? And that can look different every day. Some days we're just looking to get a release from our rest of the day, get our mind off of something else. Some days we're like working through problems. Some days we're really in tune with our body and just looking for strength and looking to feel and demonstrate that strength. Or, running, same thing. Like we're looking for endurance. We're looking to build endurance in our life. We're looking to have some courage. It's like all of these attributes that we really practice in the gym are things that we want to practice in life. So then when it came to what do we want to look like? What do we want to feel like? That's when it became a little bit fun for us because we could come up with different patterns and different ways for women to express themselves. And we have so many different, like, we have so many different like styles, leggings, patterns, shorts, the whole thing. But it really became a really fun practice to see how women related to the clothing, what they wanted to wear, what they wanted to see, what they wanted to feel, and just feeling comfortable and confident in their own skin and in their own clothes first. And then, hopefully we get to feeling comfortable and confident in your own skin. And, going with that, like we had to make sure we had like the baselines checked off where like you weren't going to be adjusting your clothes throughout your entire workout because like that's not what we're there to do. You know what I mean? Like you don't want something that's like so distracting. And it's amazing because women clothing is designed to be inconvenient for us, like high heels, inconvenient, like not practical. So, everything we have is pockets, which is just like, you don't have to necessarily go to the gym. You can, we need pockets for everything. We need pockets for everything. Like I find myself going around and being like, if I wear something without pockets, I'm like, how did I ever do this? Like, where's my chapstick going to go? My phone, my keys, like all these things. And then making sure that like, women don't have to worry about it being see-through, which I think a lot of people didn't realize that so many leggings were very see-through until we kind of had this like movement where like, hey girl, hey, like those like when you bend, like when you squat, like we can see through those. So making sure that it wasn't see-through. And then like all of our fun patterns are definitely, so they're sweat proof. And for a lot of us, like for a lot of women, when they're like on machines or, start sweating and then you look like you peed your pants or something, like it's already making an uncomfortable feeling for them because a lot of women are uncomfortable in the gym, like especially initially. Then it adds like an additional layer of fear. And I was like, we can't have any more friction points to feeling uncomfortable in the gym.
No, you want it to be this way or this place, like this microcosm where you can build that empowerment, where you can build that strength, which then translate to everyday life. I think we don't often appreciate that like working out isn't just physical strength. It is that mental strength. It's proving to ourselves we can be comfortable being uncomfortable in new ways. And it really is that way of like building that inner strength to then translate. It's the acting as if until you act as you are. And I think that's really where that builds, and having that ability to wear those fun prints, to be like, hey, I can show off my body even as I might be working to improve areas of it, is also a real big boost, I think. And what would you say to a woman that's like, hey, I'm not there yet, therefore I don't deserve these leggings yet, I don't deserve to wear these colors? What would you say to someone who came to you with that?
You know, I do hear that all the time. And we almost want to, so when we want to build confidence and strength in our bodies, what we've been taught to do is build it, is tear it down, shame ourselves into becoming a more confident version of ourselves. And that's the opposite of what you actually do to build confidence to do something. Like you don't shame and put yourself down in order to build yourself up. The only thing that will get you to show up as the person that you want to be is to just start showing up as her. You start showing up as her first before you actually believe in her. And it's an interesting shift, because I know, a lot of us have this in our minds that you have to get to a certain look or a certain weight, or when you get to a certain athletic ability, or you have a certain body fat percentage, you'll start to feel confident enough to wear XYZ. And the trick there is, the secret there is, that doesn't exist. There isn't a time that you're going to wake up and say, like, I finally made it, I feel confident enough to do this. And the problem there is that you're going to waste your life waiting for that moment, and it's going to pass you by. Everything that you want to wear, the confidence that you want to feel, like the confidence you want to feel in your body, all of that time will go by as you're forgetting that you're already in it, and that you need to show up as her. You're waiting for it, but it's never going to come unless you show up as her. So it's one of those things where, like, if you're ever waiting to wear the thing that you want to wear, like, I challenge you to take smaller steps to doing that. So if it's, a lot of people say, especially with like crop tops, or taking off their shirt at the gym, was one of the ones that I made a whole video on it. Because the idea of taking off your shirt at the gym, or on a run, or anywhere, being in a sports bra, was something that a lot of women felt so uncomfortable with, and felt like, I can't do that unless I look like this. And the experience of just letting go of that, letting go of the idea that you can only feel confident if you look like this. You can only wear a crop top if you look like this. You can only take off your shirt if you look like this, is just, it like, throw it out the window. It doesn't exist. There is no, like, body composition that allows you to feel confident in your own skin. You build the confidence first. It doesn't come with the body composition. So just do it. Just do it. Wear what you want,
I love that, because it's true. You don't gain confidence through achieving something, because the second we achieve it, we want more, or we start to lose the perspective on how far we've actually come. It's really choosing to be confident at each stage, while accepting that confidence and being happy doesn't have to mean staying stuck. It can mean moving forward. It can mean still wanting to improve. Like, you can love your body and still say, well, how much stronger can I get? How much leaner can I get? How much more muscle can I build? And that's not a bad thing. In terms of this too, I hear a lot of times, well, this clothing is too young for me. I can't wear this at the gym. I'm not supposed to wear bright colors at my age. What would you tell to a woman who's limiting herself because of age even?
Yeah, you're so right. That's the other layer that's in there too. Is either you don't have the right body composition, or you're too old, you missed your window. And if you ever start a sentence with, I'm not supposed to, because, right off the bat that that's not it, because you're not supposed to according to whose rules. According to who? Like, who said you are too old to wear the clothing that you want to wear, that you feel great in? And it's just, again, it's one of those things, like, you're gonna come to, I don't want to be like morbid, but like, you're gonna come to the end of your life, and you're gonna look back and wish that you had worn the thing that you wanted to wear, that you had done the thing that you wanted to do. You're never gonna look back and be like, I shouldn't have worn that I was too old. Like, you're never going to do that. But you are going to say, like, I should have just lived my truth. And that's the whole idea, that Rachel and I talk about on our podcast all the time too, is just like, you decide how you got this one beautiful life, right? You have one chance at this shit. And you decide what you want that to look like for you. Do you want to go around being like, I wish I could do that, but I just can't. You're going to have a whole bunch of I wish I did this at the end. You're going to have a whole bunch of like regrets essentially for those little things that didn't allow you to live your truth and to live exactly who you are and who you were always meant to be, with these like arbitrary rules that have been put out by who? Who said at what point, like, where's the age where like you can't wear a crop top anymore? Like, what's the age that you have to, like, that you stop wearing things that make you feel good? Like, what age is that? Because like, who made that up, and who cares? Because like, they can kick rocks, like, they have nothing to do with your life.
It's so true. We put these arbitrary, because they are arbitrary limitations, maybe because we heard one person say that in the past. Maybe it was a family member even, or a family member did make maybe a negative comment. But at the same time, we never then chose to question where these limitations are coming from. And I constantly talk to clients like, do you? Ultimately, you're the one that has to live with your body. You have to live with your life. You have to accept what you've done. And any shoulda, woulda, coulda, you're the one that made that shoulda, woulda, coulda at the end when you're looking back. And successful people don't live in that shoulda, woulda, coulda. They do what they want to do and they move forward. And I love that you say you have to live your truth, because it is our life. And if you don't make yourself happy, well, you're not going to be able to please everybody else anyway. So at least
Never.
do you, right?
You're literally never going to be able to please everyone. So as soon as you let go of that, you realize, like, actually, the person that you're here to please is just yourself.
Yep. And if you want to be your healthiest, happiest self, at some point you just have to choose to act as if. Use that gym experience and going there to take up space. Because I think too, like what you mentioned with the gym, where people go to the equipment that they feel comfortable on, that's not inconvenient to other people. They're not even asking to work in reps. And it's because I think in life too, as women, we are often taught to deprioritize ourselves and prioritize our family. So with even moving out of the gym, what would you say to a woman in the community who's like, hey, I have all these other things to do, these other things come first? What would you do to encourage her to make herself a priority? Because if we don't prioritize ourselves, we can't truly take care of other people.
Yeah. That's such a great point, because we are told that as women, we are told that the best thing that you can be is selfless. And it's such a bizarre thing, because how are you actually contributing anything to people around you, to the people that you love the most, if you've forgotten yourself? So the thing that you have to really remember when you continue to put yourself on the back seat is that you're not showing up for your people as your best self. So not only are you not showing up for yourself as your truest self, but you're not showing up for the people around you. And going to the gym, taking care of yourself, prioritizing your health in whatever way that looks like for you, is not selfish. It is not selfish at all. If it's a better framework for you to realize that taking care of yourself is taking care of other people. When you have more patience, when you have you have a better aura about you, like, you are going into all of those relationships with much more compassion and understanding, and a healthier, happier you're contributing more to every single interaction that you have. So whether that's like being a mom, and I hear this from moms a lot, because they're like, well, I have to get my kids to their whatever events that they'll never remember, but it's okay. And I can't make time for myself, at any point during the week. And it just has to be like, hold on here. Are you showing your kids what it's like to take care of themselves? Because ultimately, they're only learning that from you. They're only learning that watching you. And that's how they're learning to live their life. What should I do as an adult? What does that look like? Do I completely let go of myself to just prioritize everyone around me. And where does that end? Like, where does that cycle end? Like, it's not going to end with your kids if you don't do it. It's not going to end with theirs. So like, are we all just in this cycle of like, we will forget our own self and our own needs in an attempt to meet the needs of other people so that eventually they can do the same? When does it become we emulate that life that we want to show the people around us?
We do forget how much our actions really are speaking volumes to the people around us and inspiring them even. I mean, there is that line, you never know who you're inspiring, right? And when we take time for ourselves to prove that we can do all these different things, that you can even schedule in 5 minutes and see results with that, because I think sometimes we forget about doing the minimum. When we forget that, we also are forgetting that our changes are inspiring our kids or inspiring our other family members. I've seen it so often with clients even, like making that time for themselves that inspires others in their life to do the same. And so as hard as it is when you are trying to prioritize family or trying to prioritize work, it does feel like there's just not enough time in the day if you don't find a way to take some time for yourself. Not only do those things fill the time even more, but you're also showing everybody else in your life that maybe they shouldn't prioritize themselves instead of inspiring your kids to change that dieting culture, to change that health and fitness culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, especially with such a strong like diet culture, like just within everything that we've done, you talk to women who have, lived through the 90s, the worst diet culture ever, or, the late 80s, and just looking at like what we saw were our mothers going on consistent diets. That's what you were supposed to do. And when you got older, what you did was go on a diet. And that's the behavior that we learned, and that was going to be acceptable. Like, if I want to be thin, or like what we thought was healthy, which was associated with thin, which is a whole other thing, but it was just like, you need to be like sad and eating a salad away from the rest of your family who enjoys lovely things. And it's just like, none of that is actually true. So if the next generation sees women who prioritize themselves and realize that their health is going to impact the health of their families, they're going to be able to show up as a better, stronger them. And like, yes, you should take time for yourself to take care of your health. If the next generation, if that's what they're seeing, oh man, it's gonna be a whole other thing of how we treat ourselves and how we treat the people around us.
It's so true. And I think that we can all go into inspiring the next generation wearing freaking rocking leggings and sports bras and crop tops out everywhere and a lot of constantly varied gear. Because I always get asked anytime I wear any sort of bright colored leggings where they're from, and they're always from you guys. Can you share with the audience if they want to go check them out and get some for themselves and really act as if they are confident even as they're working on themselves and building that confidence to feel stylish at the gym and even extra sexified? Let's face it, you want to feel sexy as you train. Where can they find constantly varied gear?
So constantlyvariedgear.com is our website. I know it's such a long, it's such a long name. We came up with it early, but Constantly Varied Gear. We're also on Instagram at Constantly Varied Gear. And if you want to get in our Facebook group, Fitness Programming by CVG, we just have like an amazing community of members in there who just like, it doesn't matter what type of fitness that you do. Everyone just gets in there and just encourages each other. And I think that like, it's one of the communities amazing, that like women surrounding other women and be like, yes, wear that. Like, you may not have those people in your life that are there to encourage you to wear those bold things or to take up space or to prioritize yourself. But luckily enough, the internet's good for some things, and we can create that outside of ourselves, outside of our immediate community. So yeah, I would encourage you definitely to hop in there and join the community.
Well, thank you so much for being on, and I'm going to link to all that in the show notes so that everybody can go get fabulous leggings and then show them off in the community as well. So thank you so much, Kelsey.
Thanks.
I want to share one of my favorite macro hacks because I am super lazy and I like to be able to have meals that I can easily enter and tweak based on the macros that I have for that day or based on the other things I'm doing. If you want to see a video walkthrough of how to actually implement this in MyFitnessPal, that will be available in the video version on YouTube. So in terms of this macro hack, there are some go-to meals we often have, whether or not it's a stir fry, a salad, a sandwich. There are things we often make in some form, even if they slightly vary. And so I like to save these things as meals, not as recipes, but as meals. I'll actually go to the day and I'll log each individual ingredient once. So say it's a stir fry, I'll log all the ingredients for the stir fry. I might then log some different options that I may include based on the macros I have that day. So while it might usually be a chicken stir fry with brown rice, maybe I also log in using cauliflower rice, or I cut back on the portion of rice, or I add in shrimp, or I add in edamame, but I'll make a few other variations within that meal. I'll then save that as a meal. And the great part is then all the different options are logged. So if I have a day where I have more carbs or less carbs, all I have to do is add that meal and then make the swaps by cutting out the ingredient or adjusting the portion size. But it's a great way to quickly tweak based on things you're commonly eating. So if you know there's ingredients you're commonly putting together, save those as a meal to easily be able to enter that into your daily log and then delete out what you're not using or tweak the portion size. But it saves you a lot of time and also makes it really handy so that if you do have to eat out or do something slightly unplanned during the day, you also have quick options that you know you can adjust around to get closer to your macros. Of course, not every day is still gonna be perfect, but this is a great way to make logging really easy and have everything readily available, and you have the ability to really adjust based on what you need for that day. So remember, you can save things as a meal with all the ingredients you might include, and then when you add that, you can delete out the things you don't want that day and adjust the portion sizes. It makes it a lot easier than having a recipe where you then would have to go in and actually adjust the recipe itself. So try this macro hack, let me know if it helps. We all have those stubborn areas that we just wish would disappear. And unfortunately, they are usually the last to go. And I want to talk about today how to deal with that stubborn belly fat, to deal with that stubborn fat in general, and what you can actually do to get better results faster. So I just want the belly fat gone. When we're talking about losing from a specific area, spot reduction or spot lipolysis doesn't work in the way that we actually wish it would. We can't just do 1,000 crunches and expect everything to just disappear. It doesn't work that way, okay? However, there are certain things that you can do to help target specific areas and see better results faster. That's why I wanted to break down what you can do and explain actually the science behind why certain areas are more stubborn. So why are areas more stubborn? Fat loss from areas like specifically our love handles, belly, hips, thighs, and butt can be harder, partly due to our genetic predisposition. So where we're genetically tend to store fat more, but they also are generally stubborn because there's less blood flow to those specific regions. Less blood flow makes it harder to mobilize and utilize fatty acids from these areas. And not only is there less blood flow to these areas, but there are also different types of fat cells, the alpha and beta, and both respond differently to the fat loss process. Alpha cells respond better to lipolysis or fat loss and accelerate the process, while beta cells don't respond as well and make it harder to lose the fat. So guess what's generally in those more stubborn areas? Beta cells! Boo! Those stubborn areas like our hips, belly, and thigh have more beta cells. So a greater concentration is why it's harder to lose from. So not only do the different types of fat cells make it easier or harder to lose from certain areas, but especially as we get leaner and leaner, our body's going to fight back against the weight loss process more and more. So as you actually get closer to your goal, you're going to find that results slow more because you're pushing your body to a limit where it feels like its survival is more threatened. So it doesn't necessarily want to cross that barrier as easily. So the more our body will fight back, the longer we've been in a deficit, the closer we get to our goal. The more extreme the deficit, or the more we try and kill ourselves too with doing extra training while eating less, the more we actually might hinder ourselves from seeing the results that we want because our body is kicking into that survival mode. So this can also feel like why we get really skinny and don't end up losing more fat or look sort of skinny fat and we lose some muscle mass. We do actually end up losing muscle mass because of this extreme deficit and because we aren't adjusting our macros and trying to actually preserve that lean muscle mass, which is metabolically costly. Another reason is, and something we can't ignore, is the changes with perimenopause and getting older. They actually can change where you tend to store fat. So with the hormonal changes of perimenopause, we can see more fat being stored around our middle. Now, don't go saying you're doomed, because you're not, okay? So let's talk about the impact that perimenopause and menopause can have on where we store fat and even how we go about losing fat. So let's first talk about estrogen because it's involved in metabolism and maintaining a healthy weight, including helping to regulate lipid, fat, and glucose metabolism. So during menopause, when estrogen levels drop, your metabolic rate declines, which can lead to fat storage if you continue to eat the way that you've always eaten. On top of this, estrogen deficiency can contribute to insulin resistance, which only further promotes fat storage. To add to all this, low estrogen levels can even impact where the fat settles, causing you to accumulate belly fat, even if you've never gained there before. So not only are these lower levels of estrogen causing us to store fat, but they can also increase our appetite and reduce our satiety. So we can feel hungrier even though we're gaining weight. Super freaking frustrating. I know. It's kind of messed up. Also, lower levels of estrogen will reduce activation of a brown fat, which is the metabolically active body fat, aka it's the body fat that burns energy. So as you can see, all of these things are not only changing where we're storing it, but how easy it is to lose. So on top of this, it can get harder to build and retain lean muscle mass in general as we get older. And this can mean a lower metabolic rate and fewer calories burned at rest, or a lower daily energy expenditure. This is often why we first turn to slashing our calories super low. But because our metabolic rate is declining, we think, hey, I need fewer calories because it is declining, but this also contributes to more muscle mass being lost, and therefore the metabolic rate declining even more. So this sort of perpetuates that vicious cycle, leading to further metabolic adaptations, especially the more extreme the calorie deficit we create. So the question is, what can we do? Can we actually spot reduce from an area? So the stinky fact of the matter is the areas we want to change are often the last to change, period. So no matter what there's going on, there are ways to improve our body composition, but knowing that these areas are truly more stubborn and that hormones may be working against you at times, we have to get ready to embrace the long haul. Consistency is key, okay? Often we simply don't see a change to these areas because we give up before the results have snowballed. Other areas have been lost from, and if we take progress pictures, often we'll see, we've lost back fat or arm fat or leg fat, all the areas we don't care about, okay? But in losing from all these areas that we don't care about, often the areas we do care about stand out even more, making them look worse. But we give up because we haven't lost from those areas. So it's key we stay consistent past the point we want to quit. So as frustrating as it is, realize these areas are the last to change, and then we might look worse before we look better because we're only looking at the areas that haven't changed, and in comparison, they're bigger. So here are some tips to help you improve the results that you're getting. So going back to the question of can you spot reduce an area, the simple answer is no, at least not in the way that we attempt to. If you want to see results, you need to adjust your macros, create a clear workout progression, and then stay consistent past the point of wanting to quit. This is ultimately what adds up. Okay, so adjust your macros, focus on protein, avoid slashing your calories lower, set a clear progression focusing on those compound lifts like the deadlift, squat, those big compound movements where you can lift heavy loads, okay? And then stay consistent. However, if you have dialed in your macros, if you have dialed in your workouts and you've been really consistent and you're at that last stubborn little bit and you can just feel it hanging on for its dear life, this is where spot lipolysis and making some specific tweaks can actually help you in your routine, okay? So how can you get the spot lipolysis or spot reduction benefit? You wanna end your workout with a burner for the stubborn area, followed by some steady state cardio like walking, okay? You can also include maybe a little bit of pre-fatigue, but be careful with this because you are fatiguing the muscle that you're then gonna be working, but you can pre-fatigue a muscle and then use your strength lifts afterwards or your big compound movements or your big workout after that pre-fatigue to mobilize and utilize more fatty acids from those tissues. But the key thing with this is that you're working the muscles with the surrounding tissues where you want to lose fat from, okay? Because when we work those muscles, we actually mobilize more fatty acids from those surrounding tissues to be utilized. It's then key we do that steady state cardio like walking to burn that fat off, or that we do those big compound movements in our strength workout after because we need to actually utilize those mobilized fatty acids, okay? But this really only works if everything else is dialed in and we're at that last stubborn little bit and we're doing everything right and we're staying consistent and we plan to keep staying consistent, okay? So you can't skip those fundamentals or out diet or out exercise time. This is not a recipe to see those changes. You need a small calorie deficit, focus on consistency with macros, and lifting to build muscle. Those are the fundamentals, and that's what's gonna help you ultimately achieve amazing body recomposition, okay? So just note, if you are really struggling with that last little bit, if you've been in a deficit for longer and you need that kickstart, consider what I call the spot lipolysis or spot reduction burner at the end of your workout, where you're targeting those stubborn areas and then going on a nice casual walk after. If you are short on time and can't get out for that walk or hit a treadmill, remember you can do a little activation series at the beginning of your workout, focusing on those stubborn areas, but just make sure you don't fatigue them so bad that it then makes you compromise things in your workout, okay? But you can do that at the beginning of your workouts, then utilize those mobilized fatty acids in your training. Hope this helps so that you can really see the fat loss results that you want. So if you're not watching the video version of this, you might want to tune in to see how to make this amazing foam rolling tool. If you are watching, you'll see 2 tennis balls and a sock, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to make one of my favorite foam rolling tools, the peanut. So if you have athletic tape, you can always tape the 2 balls together, but if you don't have one, all you need is the sock, 2 tennis balls, you can use 2 lacrosse balls. These are actually dog toys. So Kiwi and Sushi are looking at me like, what the heck are you doing with our toys right now, Mom? But if you put the 2 balls in the sock and you push them all the way down, and then you actually knot it off, or you can tie it off with like a hair tie, but you can make the peanut as well this way, okay? So what is the benefit of these 2 balls stuffed in the sock or taped together? This is a great way to improve your spinal mobility, okay? You can roll out your entire spine everywhere from the base of your neck. That suboccipital region can actually really help rolling it out if you do have headaches or tension headaches or neck pain at all. But you can work all the way down your spine to your SI joint. And this can help mobilize your thoracic spine to help with neck, shoulder, and upper back aches and pains. It can help with lower back aches and pains because you've mobilized your thoracic spine, so you're not seeking out a range of motion from your lumbar spine that your thoracic spine should be providing. You can roll out your lower back to help with SI joint, lower back, even hip aches and pains, because relaxing that overactive muscles there can help you better engage your abs, better engage your glutes. But this is a great way to relax all of the muscles along your spine while improving your spinal mobility. Very simple to make. I highly recommend you spend, 40 seconds to a minute working on different parts of your spine. If there are areas that are more tense that you feel like need a little bit more work, don't hesitate to just relax and hold over them. If you want to sort of tense and relax to help the muscles relax and release, you can do a little crunch up and then relax back over and then crunch back up and relax back over. But this is a great tool to help you really improve that spinal mobility. Try it today. Love to hear how you guys got along with your homemade peanuts. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Fitness Hacks podcast. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways.